All right, so tracking into altcoins, we're going to be diving in today and get you guys a little bit of maybe an insight to where the future of altcoins are going to be going in the relationship to Black Friday. Maybe there's going to be some sales here. We'll talk about several projects. Obviously, we'll have Bitcoin in there, Ethereum, all that good stuff. We'll dive in deep to that stuff. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. And when you get going on your adventure toward investing, whether you're going in and doing some shorting or you're maybe looking at some different strategies of how to invest, check out this or this exchange right here. And that's Bybit. Bybit is, if you are international, this is where it plays in for you. But you can go over there right now, get into their Crypto Cup kickoff. You can also do some zero spot fees as well. So that's one of the cool things there that is good with Bybit. And they have a lot of solutions, and this is one of the exchanges that I think is been holding up here. So remember, again, always use our link below. It helps the channel out, but remember, self-custody is the best way. Let's get into it today with Mr. Evan Aldo coming back in on the show. Always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to see you too, Paul. Thanks so much for having me.
So Evan, you are kicking it up north, relaxing in the cold tundra. And as we enjoy our nice day. It's a nice day here in South Florida. So, but we're going to get into a lot of things. And I want to open up with the news from Crypto Briefing. Digital Currency Group reveals a $2 billion in liabilities, including debt to its own subsidiary, as we all know. That's Mr. Barry Silbert. If you guys don't know this face right here, take a good look. This is the guy, I believe, that pretty much runs crypto. When you look at DCG, Digital Currency Group, and the amount of exposure that they have in all of crypto, it's pretty amazing. Go over and visit their website. Just look a little bit about what they're talking about. This was an interesting thing, though. In their shareholder letter, Digital Currency Group revealed that it had $575 million from Genesis in its own subsidiary. And then they also revealed existence of a $1.1 billion promissory note connected to the collapse of 3AC. So that's a little bit sketch, but at the same time, they also had a $350 million credit facility from a group of lenders led by Eldridge Industries. We reported a little bit on this, and I think still, some of this stuff is forcing a little bit of the hand of Bitcoin. I want to listen to you, Evan, on where you think Bitcoin is going right now. How does the charts hold up on Bitcoin?
Well, I mean, there are some things that look a little bit better than they were, and it would be easy. Let me just show you here. Let me go to my Bitcoin chart. I mean, the main thing that we want to look at kind of on the macro is the 2-week red dot right here. And we look at on market cipher B, see the red dot. The last time this happened was back here, and this was in April. Obviously, this was a nightmare, 58%. Now, I don't think it's going to be that bad. That would be really bad, but it could be kind of like this one. You could come down about 43% right here. So that's a big possibility. And that would coincide to where a lot of people are talking about around 10, 11K. You have your 500 weekly moving average right around 10K right here. And I could show you that on the weekly chart. That's going to be at 11K right there. So that's going to be a huge point. And the place, I'm not going to put it out due to time, but we typically bottom out at weekly moving averages. This was a 200 week right here in 2018. And in the pandemic drop off, this was a 300. So 500 is the next one. You do have the 400. It's at 13 something, but there's not too much there. Now, for the short term, what I'm looking at, why I kind of am in a short right now, is you have your split RSIs coming down on your 4-hour, and you have your blue triangle right here as a trend reversal, which makes me think, especially in a bear market, that we're going to come down, do something similar to this, repeat this type of drop off, which was about 7%, right there. So 7% is going to be 7 around here. Spiral lines, big areas of support. I think we could see a little jump off of that. I think we'll at least test it.
Where would that put us on Bitcoin if you dropped it? Because right now I'm looking at my chart, and you had that nice little almost 5% move here over the last 24 to 36 hours. What you're thinking is that we might see a little bit of a trend reversal coming off of the around 16.4, and this may pop down. Do you think that brings us back down into the 15.5 range? What are your thoughts there?
At least, yeah. And based on that 2-week, we could go much lower here, yes.
Which is really kind of where that resistance is. I mean, you kind of have seen this trend line resistance we've been talking about for quite some time. So playing Bitcoin right now, again, if you didn't get, and this is something we talk about in our mastermind group, is when are those entry points? The last entry point was the 15.8. We had a chance to grab a little bag there. You could have made a nice little move right here and get your 5% off the table right now, and then maybe look at a short play on Bitcoin. I want to kind of finish up here with Bitcoin because this is an interesting point right here, and this is Kathy Wood and ARK investing long Bitcoin for first time since July. This is, so, and then she's also going in heavy on GBTC. So, and Coinbase in general, primarily through GBTC, but Coinbase as well. And we've talked about this with Kathy, or about Kathy Wood a couple of episodes ago. I mean, this really is an interesting play. Does she see something we don't in terms of, because obviously with the Fed, we'll most likely see a softening both on inflation and also off the 75 basis points, thank goodness. What the question will be is if we see a 50 or a 25. Gareth is kind of pointing at a 25 in December. We just had Macro Alpha on. He was pointing at a 50 in December. So that in itself could play out as well. I want to jump over to Ethereum. This is interesting. Ethereum now, their client teams, Ethereum client teams now testing staking withdrawals. And this story kind of broke it down, withdrawals on the DevNet. With this happening, let me zoom in on that for you. They launched a new DevNet testing the unlocking of Ether stake validators. If we do see an unlock of a lot of this staked ETH, how do you think that plays out in Ethereum? Now, obviously, this is going to take some time, but let's just assume that we might see this in Q1. What does Ethereum look like right now on your charts through the end of December?
Yeah, it's same as Bitcoin. I mean, if it's unstaked, a lot of people could potentially sell it, get scared. We're in a rough time. Look at your 4-hour right here. It's the same general deal. You could come down quite a bit here. You also have, I want to show you on the 16-day, similar to the 2-week on Bitcoin, you have the 16-day right here. It's a red dot. That could bring you down a lot. It could be even like this one up here. We could be in for a rough area. I know it sounds very bearish, but you have a spiral line here, 500, and then even down here, 350 are two big areas. So that's what I'm looking for.
If you're looking at DCA for dollar cost averaging, right now, and just trying to position your bags, okay, we're looking at long-term holding, from a strategy standpoint. Would you play Bitcoin as the long play here or ETH? And when I say long play, I'm talking about moving into the next bull cycle.
It's going to be ETH. ETH long-term, I think, will outperform Bitcoin, but you got to be patient. That's going to be a big thing. You definitely have to be very, very patient there.
All right, so let's jump over to Solana. And you've got a couple of things. People really looking at Solana now, maybe taking some pretty heavy heat with their potential losing of the crown when it comes to NFTs. This is Magic Eden announcing the Polygon integration. Some people look at this as a bit of a hit heavily on Solana. And not that Solana hasn't already taken a big hit as it is, both liquidity, a lot of projects and devs starting to migrate away from the chain. What does this look like in the charts? Because we saw a huge rundown on Solana and then a little bit of a bounce here in the last couple of days. Evan, where do you see Solana hanging through the holidays and for Black Friday?
Yeah, let's see Solana right now. Solana does not look that great, but there could be a little bit of a short squeeze. So you do have, some good things on your 16-hour right here. Look, you have a bullish div right there, and you could come up a little bit. I'm looking at potentially 1425. This could be the top right here, but we're also looking at, 4-hour split of RSIs like I showed you. This could easily bring us down farther, and there's not much in between where we are and, right around $3. So that could be the next big place. There's a little bit of 820, but not too much. So be very, very careful with this, I would say.
Yeah, and of course on my chart you see the move right here, guys. This was on December 22nd, a nice move up for Solana, seeing some healthy potential profits there. Maybe if you were in a chance to get Solana when you maybe got it around the $11 mark, maybe this is your chance to go ahead and exit that position, take some profits, and then look for the next opportunity. This is, again, altcoin plays, and remember, when we do these market movers like this, the idea behind all of this, what Evan and I will do, is this is really around our own research. It also ties into our own opinion on how these markets might go, but it is not investment advice. So make sure and just keep that in mind. When we go to, because there was a couple of things on Solana I wanted to look at. This was another piece right here. This is the interesting one. Solana traders saying that they don't want to necessarily see it recover. And there's a few things in here. There was one tweet right here from Santa. There's a lot of big Solana believers. There are not a lot of big Solana believers, even as its price has bottomed around $11 and rebounded to $12.70 over the past 15. So the FUD is real. So could it cause more rebounding until traders slow down their kind of bets against Solana? In like back to your point, a short squeeze here. Do you think that plays out in any way on the charts in the next month or so, Evan? I don't know if we lost Evan. Maybe. Hey, Evan, are you there? All right, guys. Well, we'll hopefully get Evan back in here in a second. And one of the things when you look at Solana, back to this, this piece right here, I think this is a scenario that we've looked at on Solana over time. And the problem that we've had with Solana, at least on our own sentiment data, if you guys are not part of the CPI, make sure and jump into it, because it's a tool that at least will give you some sentiment data on that. And let me kind of go over to our own, which, by the way, we've got a new logo out there now. You guys may start recognizing some things. Check out Paul Barron Network. When you jump to Paul Barron Network, you're going to see a couple of new things in there. You can jump into the power index. I'm logged in right now, so I'll go over to my library. And this is where you can get into things like our CPI. This is some of the things that we track around what was happening with Solana. I want to jump in also to some additional things. And this is a different kind of angle on Solana. And this is angel investor Max Bronstein. He says basically Sol is one of the best bets today. So I'd love to know you guys' feedback. Give me some feedback on whether or not you think Solana is a play for you, if this is a short-term or a long-term play for you, or are you exiting Pole or exiting Solana in its entirety? Love to get kind of your feedback there. Me personally, just because I know a lot of you have asked if I'm playing Solana right now, I've exited all my positions in Solana and have kind of moved on. I have repositioned in Matic to a certain extent, because I do think that layer 2 is a pretty amazing layer 2 in terms of just some of the things that we've reported on here on the show for all that. Other things that I want you to take a look at is Litecoin. Now, Litecoin has been one that has been on the move here over the past couple of days, but also inherently has got some unique aspects to it that some people are actually saying, hey, wait a minute, Litecoin actually may be reviving itself as a potential in the market. So you can kind of see the chart right here. Nice quick move on Litecoin in a very short period of time. And it has had some nice moves above the $80 figure, which was a pretty amazing move. I want to jump to a couple of tweets here. And the tweets that I'm going to show you, this one is a audio version of Michael Saylor talking about Litecoin. Let me just jump to this one real quick, and let's play this one. Maybe we'll play that one. Yeah, so are we losing audio there? Yep. All right, so we won't play that one. Sorry, guys. All right, so check out that. It's on Altcoin Daily, and they did a piece on it. Basically, it was Michael Saylor saying that Litecoin is also likely a commodity. This is the big question mark right now with Litecoin. And I think if we are, and if it is looked at as a commodity, this is one of those that's going to be much like Bitcoin, which could really play into it for sure. I don't know if the guys have pulled that back up. Let's see. We'll try it.
One we know of right now.
Yep, there
Bitcoin.
It is.
You know, someone might file an application to get Litecoin designated as a digital commodity, right? Presumably the SEC would look at it and say, who owns it? And does anybody control it? And is it decentralized? And is there an issuer, right? And can you manipulate the supply? And at some point they would either say yes or no, right? There, out of 20,000 cryptos, there might be half a dozen or a dozen that might be able with a straight face to apply for digital commodity status. If you applied for digital commodity status with Solana, the SEC would say, you got a CEO, you had a pre-mine, you've got an ICO, if you want to be a digital commodity, here's how you do it. You basically disband your company. You contribute all of your tokens and your treasury pro rata to everyone that bought in the free market. You disclaim beneficial ownership of it. You unwind the ICO, and then in 3 years you apply again. Right?
I'm going to pause that there. So what Saylor, I think Saylor is also in a position right now where he, along with many other analysts, are looking at this, and we've talked about this many times on the show, is that as we see the tokenization side of altcoins in the sense of how the Fed and or the NEC or SEC is going to take a look at this, I think we are going to deal with a lot of altcoin securities. Basically it's going to be a scenario where we do see those regulations play in. And to his point, there's only a handful of these types of tokens that could fall under the commodity or the CFTC guidance. And Litecoin is one of those. So I think that we will continue to see that kind of push. I want to play back. This was from Peter McCormick and Lynn Alden. And they also mentioned Litecoin. So, and again, everybody's kind of wondering what's been causing this push. Well, you've got Saylor over here talking about, hey, this might be a commodity. And then you have Lynn Alden right here. Let me go to this clip real quick.
Is that these exchanges might have to be registered with both the SEC and the commodities trading regulators.
Right. So the CFTC, because of Bitcoin, and then the SEC because of these securities.
Essentially, yeah. Bitcoin, maybe Litecoin, things that don't necessarily directly pass the Howey test. You could have a small number of commodities or digital commodities, and then a very large number of digital currencies, digital securities, and that could be a market that people play in.
And is this all part of like Gensler's roadmap to get us towards an ETF? Does this all play in as part of it?
Going forward is that these exchanges might have to be registered with both the SEC and the commodities trading.
All right, so what you saw there on that play, I'll pause the thing. Lynn was talking about is that the security elements along all these altcoins, or many of these altcoins, could play into some opportunities. And I do agree. I think we're going to see a lot fewer altcoins. I think the days, obviously, of the ICO, and a lot of the tokens that are coming out in the market that we see in many cases outside the United States. But for the big boy tokens, they're going to plan and be traded here within the US and maybe within a lot of the Western countries. I think that those are going to be the ones who are able to, one, meet the requirements and the regulators' disclosures on how to go into a pure security. And I think this is one of the things, again, back to Litecoin. That's why we're seeing some movement on Litecoin going in the direction we are so far. There are other things that I want to talk about, and that is Arweave. Arweave is one that I think is still in a position, and we keep it on the charts. Let me kind of jump down here into Arweave. Let's take a look at Arweave real quick. And, from a run-up, we had our sentiment kind of running positively, was running positively back in mid-November. You saw a nice little move here of 25% on Arweave. And then you saw the fall off here again. This is, I think, with a lot of the pressure from just the FUD that's in the market right now. But there has been a little bit of adjustment here over the last couple of days. If you look at where Arweave was trading at right here, which was on the 20th, it looks like. And I'm going to take a measure for you guys on that. And let's go up here. So nice 7% bump, but if you were able to sell there at the top, you were almost 9%. So again, Arweave, a good potential play. We do keep this one on the CPI as well. We measure sentiment across all of these, so you guys can get to that just by joining the CPI. Just visit Paul Barron Network. You'll be able to find us over there. Let me kind of go back over here to this topic, because this is one of the things that is interesting about Arweave. Meta, remember, is using Arweave as the storage protocol. So this is going to be all the NFTs from Instagram. When this gets unhooked, then I would anticipate. So if you are looking at maybe more of a long-term play here with Arweave, there is going to be a little bit of down pressure right now because sentiment is sliding a little bit on it. But I would take a look at Arweave as another opportunity. Now, it may not be a Black Friday, win for you, but it might be one of those that is looking at an opportunity over the next 30, 60 days as Meta gets out more news as to whether or not and how they are using the tool set inside Arweave. The other one that we're watching, and you guys know this, and that is Chiliz. Chiliz now running their Scoville testnet phase 5. This is their Pekin, which is now live. And this is staking on Chiliz. So that in itself is probably going to cause some movement here. We've had Chiliz before in the charts and in a way that has been pretty significant. Let me pull up Chiliz real quick. This number right here, and again, if you guys were following our show back here in early November, look at the number that you'd be setting on right there at a 75% gain on Chiliz. This is back when we started identifying Chiliz as a positive sentiment move, and this was a huge gain. Now, obviously, there's been a little bit of a dip right there. You may have sold out right there at around the 22-cent level, or maybe you got in. Let's say that you came in after that first run, and let's just buy it on this dip right there, and you've got a 44% run currently in place. Now, what we're dealing with right now is a retracement that started on the 19th and has retraced down here and started to go a little bit sideways, but this is their 35% retracement on Chiliz. Now, many people, when we looked at this actually last week with Evan, sorry guys, we lost Evan's feed, but the retracement that Evan was talking about, he was kind of looking at, we're going to probably still see a little bit of a move down, even though we were still seeing this last little move up right here on last Friday. And let me kind of pull that out. This little move right here last Friday was the one that sentiment we were looking at, because we were pushing still on a little bit higher before we started to see the fall off right there on Saturday, which is when the drop occurred. So this is how you kind of have to play these volatile tokens like what you're looking at right now with Chiliz, is you've got to play these very uniquely. And there's some things happening within that. Some of the fan tokens also play into that as well. Like for instance, let me show you the Argentinian fan token. So the Argentina fan token drops 25%. They got beat by the Saudi Arabia. So it's kind of odd, but at the same time, is this an opportunity? Do we see an opportunity? Because Argentina is huge fan base. I just wonder if people just were upset, and it just kind of, for whatever people were doing was speculation. If you look at the chart right over here on OKLink, you can kind of see all the football projects. Chiliz, of course, right there, but right here, getting into the Argentine Football Association, the fan token right there. So again, is this an opportunity? I'd love to kind of get your feedback. Are you playing any of these football tokens or any of these fan base tokens? Love to kind of get your feedback. If you are, drop them in the comments or on the sidebar for some chat. We'll try to get to some of those. I know you guys have some questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Make sure, though, to smash the like button. I know you guys are getting ready for the holiday, getting ready to chill out, maybe kick back, drink a beer, relax for the rest of the week. But maybe now is the time to be really doing some deep dive research. So make sure and check out some of these altcoin projects. Another couple that I think people are sleeping on is Algorand. Now, Algorand we've had on our show many times. We've had their team on. Overall, the technology behind Algorand is absolutely phenomenal. And what they have done is, I think, in essence, when you look at their particular blockchain, their model is one that is very unique, and two, I think it has a lot of upside in terms of future technology. I would challenge it against any of the traditional blockchains that are out there today. So what they have been able to do there, obviously their deal that has been in the news recently was their partnership with FIFA. And, can the holders really profit off the FIFA World Cup is the question mark. So was this a good move for Algorand? I think generally it was a good move because it showcases just the name Algorand in a very high profile, scenario. But whether or not we're going to truly see any movement on that is the real question. I'm going to jump over to the Algorand chart for you guys. get up in there. There's Algo right there. So you can kind of see we had a little bit of nice run up. This was back here in mid-November. And right now we're in a pretty interesting spot in terms of the lowest price for Algorand setting at 24 cents. So is this a potential buy-in on Algorand? If you believe in what what Macaulay has been able to do over there and what their future is, because I think there are some unique things of what they've been trying to do. Obviously, it's a green chain. It's one of those that is zero carbon footprint. That whole ESG check mark that everybody's kind of been looking for. Take a look at this one, because this is one, again, that a lot of people are sleeping on overall. The other one I want to jump to is Flow. Now, Flow has some interesting things going on. This is right here. Mattel launches their NFT platform via their Mattel Creations, and they pivot from Wax to Flow. So remember that Wax, this was one of their big call-ins. It was really kind of the thing. It was the Hot Wheels NFTs, still the most successful, and over on the Wax blockchain. Let me kind of zoom up on that for you guys, because it's hard for you to see it in that side window that we have showing. But once the Mattel Creations now moving over to Flow, maybe does Flow get a play on where this starts to move? So again, I don't know if you guys are playing some of those in the Web3 space. Is that something that you like long term? Love to kind of get your feedback on where Flow is going. Here's the chart on Flow. Has been nothing but down here. So again, watching this one with his slight little move up. What was that little move that we've got right here on Flow? Up around 7%. Again, markets right now very soft. But is this one of those at $1.15? Potentially another one that we take a look at for altcoins. If you are looking for altcoins to kind of trade out into the future, these are the kind of things that you should be looking at, and that is partnerships, the adoption phase, and has the market been able to adjust downward for a lot of these tokens? I think that's a big one. Last up is Disney, of course, kind of brings it all into a lot of tokens, and I think the one that is probably going to be most affected by Disney is going to be Polygon. So here was Disney reappointing Bob Iger. He's a big metaverse guy, but more importantly, he's going to reposition Disney as a digital assets and experience company in Web3. And who is the number one company out there in Web3? None other than Matic. I would say this kind of chart activity, if you can kind of take a look here, look at that run up that we saw on Matic when we had it at, remember when it was a nice 84 cents and it popped right up there to $1.27. Big moves, immediately downside, market trends of what we've seen with Bitcoin kind of flowing, recovered pretty quickly and has been a little bit of a slow march down. And let's look at that slot of loss down to where our bottom was. Yeah, right at 30%. And then if you look at where we are currently, running in right here, Matic is still holding at about an 8%. I think we are going to see a little bit of some sideways action right now on Matic for the short term. But again, being able to catch it on these dips, sub 80s, sub 70s for sure is another area I like. Again, the key here is all the good news that's coming out around Polygon and the partnerships. The only thing that hurts Polygon, again, is going to be a scenario of how Ethereum may be affected. And Ethereum, from just a tag-along effect, does get affected by Bitcoin's situation. So this whole Grayscale and DCG situation could play into it. So these are the ones that we're watching right now. It's the ones that I'm keeping an eye on, just to give you guys an idea of the run on some of the things I'm doing. We did some short trades or some trades, swing trades on Bitcoin this week, and we were able to get a little bit going there. Other aspects of it is ETH. Also, ETH was not a bad little move because we had a nice little bump right now on ETH. And but again, this one shows downward sentiment right now, even though we had a nice little 8% move, but we're still seeing some downward sentiment. Now, ETH has been tracking right here in this zone for quite some time once it had pulled off this top up here. And when you look at that top right up here when ETH was trading on the 5th of November at 1,600, and then we saw this huge cut into it around 1,100. this, I think, is our sideways action that ETH is going to continue with. The key here, again, is going to be watching what is happening with liquidity in the markets and whether or not we continue to see Bitcoin get pressure. If Bitcoin starts to see pressure in the sub 15, this is going to be a big trigger that I'm watching right now. Right now, we're on a downtrend of sentiment, even though Bitcoin is slightly above 16 trading, and it has been coming back from that 15.5 number this week. The downtrend is still pushing. So I don't anticipate a lot of trading activity, but at the same time, remember, Thanksgiving is only a U.S. holiday, so obviously the rest of the world is still moving at breakneck speeds on crypto. So I think we'll most likely still see some activity moving. The thing we won't see, hopefully, is any major news drops that could cause black swan type, scenarios, and that I think will play into all this as well. All right, I know we have a poll real quick. Let's take a look at that one. Are you most likely buying any altcoins over the holiday? All right, so 50-50. That's pretty good. That's nice because I think it's a good example of the market right now is that there's very pro market as to this is the bottom or nearing the bottom, and it's hard to catch the bottom. So do you just take your opportunity in projects that you believe in long term, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Matic for me, or others out there? If you're looking at some of the more riskier altcoins, and remember, a lot of these altcoins are very risk on. So if you're new to crypto, first thing I want you to do is pause right now and start diving into the projects. Don't just blindly invest into any altcoin at any time. If you're not aware of what it does, why you think it's moving, look at the partnerships that's been gained, the utility aspects that's being used in real world scenarios right now, and then make your decision if it's something that you're interested in, just like you would on a stock. I mean, fundamentals are there, even though a lot of people say fundamentals aren't there for crypto. Fundamentals are there. You have to understand how to read them. You look at the macro numbers, watch a lot of our macro analysts, look at the partnership deals that we talk about a lot here on the show that gives you kind of those fundamental elements to baseline an altcoin. And then look at whether or not the tool set of what they're doing is a good thing. Look at their devs. Are they gaining or losing? Look at the opportunity on partnerships and how they're moving. How fast does a chain move? In terms of development cycles, in terms of partnerships, and in terms of utility aspects in the open market. All right, so let's get back into some questions. I know you guys have a lot. We'll take one here from PHX. Paul, are you holding any Sol, and when or do you plan to sell? Solana, I'm completely exited on. I was a big investor in Sol, even though I wasn't always a big believer in it. But I used it as a trading, asset, and I've lost money on Solana. It's not a great win. So it's one of those things out there. Jerry's saying yes, Algorand. Terrible marketing, this chain. And when you think about it and look at software, companies in general, most of them are not great at marketing. And Algorand needs a biz dev team that is like the level of Polygon. If you had that kind of biz dev team, Algorand would be out there everywhere. Yes, Mike Sid, are you having Mark Moss on today? Yes, we are going to have Mark Moss on. He's going to be on our 3 o'clock live stream, so stick around for that one. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin and what its real future is around not only finance in general, but maybe bringing us out of all of this futtery that's occurring not only in crypto, but in the traditional financial markets as well. What do you guys, Magical says, what do you think about Glimmer and Moonbeam? Listen, we've talked about, Dot's been a little bit on the sidelines. Again, these are the kind of the things that do happen in these bear markets, is either they're building dramatically like a Matic team, or they're starting to pull back for whatever reason. Maybe it's a runway scenario, maybe it's other situations with dev or partnerships aren't coming through, those kind of things. I'm not necessarily investing in the Polkadot ecosystem right now, so just where it goes. Kigo, Solana might be the chance of a lifetime. Yeah, I presented two alternative and contrarian opinions. Some people exiting Solana will never come back. Some people looking at Solana saying this is a 10 cent Solana or a $10 Solana. We definitely want to go in there. So, man, you can imagine that. All right, Crystal, you come in with no fan tokens for me. Gala is closest to that. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Filecoin or Arweave. Ooh, I don't know that those would compare to each other, because Filecoin most likely is going to be delivered on as a commodity, and I think it's going to trade a lot like Bitcoin. It's going to end up being used as a transfer token. And if you guys have never used Filecoin, go explore a little bit of Filecoin usage. Almost everybody uses it. I use it a lot of times to move between exchanges, because it's a very low cost to move value, and it doesn't have a lot of volatility until recently on the upside. But that, I think, it's a really good tool set. So I think that's, again, one of the reasons why Filecoin and it's an OG. It's been around for a long time. So compare that to Arweave. It's different. Arweave's on a moonshot doing utility aspects in Web3. Different kind of package. So I would look at both of them. Arweave I would be waiting a little bit more on, only because I'm looking for upside. I'm just looking for upside, so that's the only reason. Render to the moon, the coin changing, yeah, for sure, going Web 2 to Web 3. I think we're going to see Render continue its mission. But again, Render still deals with some situations because of these effects on all the other ecosystems, including Solana and others. So, you have to understand kind of where this is going. It is moving, but it is moving at a small pace. Unless Render starts really inking maybe some sort of big utility case with some big players, I think we'll see Render continue to struggle a bit. Bill Ackman in on HNT. So, Helium is one that I have started to fall away from, only because of its relationship on the Solana blockchain, and also I just feel like at this point that's a struggle. I think Helium for me long term is not there any longer. I used to love this token because I felt like it just had so much upside of what they were trying to do utility wise. Still one of the best utility use cases though. We'll see how all this plays out though. Overlooking? No, we're not overlooking BNB. No, not a chance. We like BNB. I've invested in BNB, own some BNB, and it is one of those, if you're in the Binance ecosystem, that it's a great token to hold. There are issues though of moving and translating your BNB into value into other aspects. So just be aware of your trading pairs if you're in BNB and you're working on, let's say, Binance US, or if you're on Binance, it's a little different if you're worldwide out there. So. For sure. Mason Payne, Crow Coin on discount, for sure. I mean, all the exchange tokens, I think, have really taken a beating ever since FTT just cratered. I don't know, and you guys know my position on crypto.com. Well, on any exchange, I'm not going to badmouth exchanges, but if they're not doing things that are really pro in the way of adding value to customers, because I'm a crypto.com user, and all I've seen recently has been devaluing the reasons that I was there. First it was yields, then it was the drawdowns, then it was the withdrawal process, the whitelisting of addresses. Those are all just hurdles for me. So those are the reasons I look at that. Crow is on a discount though, for sure. For sure. All right, make sure and drop some comments below. We love all that good stuff. Like and subscribe here to this video. It does help us out, but more importantly, it helps out the new people that are coming into crypto for the very first time. And there's still a lot of new people, fresh addresses coming in, and fresh people on social starting to talk about crypto for the very first time. Guess how they find out about content? Through the algorithms. So the only way that happens is like and subscribe. Join our Diamond Circle. It is one of the best places for you guys to connect to us, and it's free. Just click the link below. If you guys want to reach me, it is out there on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.